Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
Vice Admiral Bill Gortney is a decorated naval aviator and the director of Joint Staff. He is also an alumnus of Elon University, where he was the 2011 commencement speaker. While on campus, Admiral Gortney spoke with Elon's president, Leo Lambert, about the challenges the U.S. military is facing in the 21st century.
Vice Admiral Bill Gortney, welcome back to Elon. It's such a pleasure to have a highly decorated naval officer here. And we're delighted you're back at your alma mater, Elon University.
Well, thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you, Doctor, for inviting me back. It's great to be back.
Tell us about your new role with the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Well, as the director of the Joint Staff, I'm more of a chief of staff is the best way to describe it. So I make sure that we can keep the ship moving through the water, make sure that the directors have what they need in order to provide best advice to the chairman, so that he can then give best advice to the president. Making sure that everybody communicates, interface with Office of Secretary of Defense and the Joint Staff, solve the problems that pop up on a given day.
From your vantage point, what are the greatest threats to America today?
Well, first off, we've got to fight and win the two wars we're in, and continue to win those wars. And then as we look downrange, I think that the greatest threat that we have right now is our debt, our national debt. We've got to get a handle. It's a strategic vulnerability that we need to tackle, that the American people need to tackle.
Say more about that, and what's the role of the Pentagon in that?
Well, Department of Defense is a good-sized portion of the discretionary funds of our budget every year, and so the Department of Defense is going to have to pay its part to work off that particular debt. But it cannot come from Department of Defense alone. The American people are going to have to all invest into this.
Sacrifice required across the board.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about what you see as the greatest challenges facing the U.S. military today.
One, we have to fight and win the two wars we're in. We have to make sure that we do everything in our power to prevent any other wars from breaking out. The challenge with that, we have to reinvest. You know, the force that we have, that we went into this fight nearly 10 years ago, was a very well-equipped force as a result of the buildup leading up to that. In the years of investment and recapitalization of that force. Now we've been using that force in combat for nearly 10 years. And at the same time, so we have to recapitalize that force at the same time that the demands on the budget are going to drive that amount of money to invest in the recapitalization. They're going to have to come down.
So there's a lot to manage there. Resources are going to be stretched. We don't fight wars in the 21st century the same way we did in the 20th century. Say more specifically about how you're going to handle all these challenges.
Well, as we look to the future and look to the recapitalization as well as sustain the force that we have to first reset the force. They've been slugging it hard for nearly 10 years, particularly our Army and our Marine Corps. And so making sure that we reset them so that they're ready for the next period of armed conflict that inevitably, as a history major from Elon College, will come. That is a challenge that we need to do that in a manner that allows us to adjust fires over time. One thing we know for certain is that we're going to predict the future wrong. And so if we chart a course that takes us 10, 15 years from now, we have to have measures, places along the line that we can take a branch or a sequel, adjust the force structure necessary to meet the threats that we just aren't able to foresee.
Tell me about the capabilities of soldiers and sailors and Marines and others that you're looking for right now. And the reason I ask is we see so much advanced technology in use in the military today. What are the kinds of skills and competencies you're looking for in men and women that you're recruiting to the armed services today?
Our greatest strength is the youth of America. The American people should be very proud of the youth of America, and it's the sons and daughters that mothers and fathers and guardians put into the armed service, that the armed services have developed a method of manning, training, and equipping that takes the combination of the youth of America with the best manning, training, and equipping possible, that makes them the most viable fighting force that this world has ever seen. We're very lucky in order to do that. But the largest single advantage that we have is that youth of America.
What's been your greatest challenge since taking over as Director of the Joint Chiefs?
The challenge of being on the Joint Chiefs, it's the demands of working inside the Pentagon. An incredible amount of work, incredible amount of tension as people make very, very difficult choices. Because there's no easy choice. And with that tension comes debate, comes emotion, but at the end of the day results in what I think is a pretty good value for the American taxpayers. But it doesn't come without a lot of work. And there's virtually no one that joined the Navy, Marine Corps, the Air Force, no one joined to work inside that environment in the Pentagon. We joined to fly airplanes, drive ships, drive tanks, lead Marines and soldiers, and we're not able to do that. But we're the enablers for others that get to have that joy.
Which is a good segue into my last question, which is, what capabilities are you looking for those kinds of leaders that you're taking out of the fighting forces and putting into leadership positions within the Pentagon? We take the idea of leadership development at Elon seriously. What are the qualities of leadership that you prize the most?
The number one attribute that we prize the most is the same attribute that you prize the most, and that's integrity. It's the single most important thing that you bring to the table. And you were taught that by your mothers and fathers at a very young age.
Character is destiny.
That's exactly right. So the next skill set that is very helpful is team sports. The ultimate team sport is combat. And if anything, of nearly 10 years of combat, the armed services is known is that fighting as a joint force makes us almost invincible. And so that teamwork is another critical skill set.
Vice Admiral Bill Gortney, it's been a pleasure to have you back at Elon University. Thank you for visiting your alma mater.
It's great to be here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.